Good morning, students. I am Ganesh from the Department of Physics, Bhadidasnan Matriculation Higher Secondary School, Arakonam. Last class we had seen in our video lecture circular motion, moment of inertia, radius of gyration and center of mass. Today we are going to shift our focus to gravitation. So in this class I am going to explain to you how the natural physical laws of gravitation have been evolved and how our efforts to put the satellites and missiles into space are successful. So let's sit back and see what the chapter gravitation has to say all us about. So I am going to give a recap on what we have seen on the last class. In the last class we had seen about the rotational mass, which is the moment of inertia, radius of gyration, center of mass, torque and law of conservation of angular momentum and problems on rotational motion. Now to get in touch with this, how is it related to gravitation? Actually all the planets are spherical and they revolve around elliptical orbits around the sun. So they conserve the angular momentum when they go through the sun in their orbit. That is why in the polar stations the winter is long and summer is short due to the precision of the Earth's axis of rotation. So why I am mentioning this is because we are continuing from the last video on rotational motion, and so we are going to deal with how the planets, especially the Earth, react to our forces in general. The next one we are going to see is the planetary motion has been studied in detail as way back 5 centuries ago. The first planetary hypothesis was given by Nicolaus Copernicus. He is from as way back as 1473. So you may wonder how the astronomers have gauged the sky and come up with laws of planetary motion. So in 1473 it was Nicolaus Copernicus who gave the heliocentric theory, which means that the sun is the center of the universe and all the planets are revolving around the sun with sun as one of its foci in elliptical orbits. So he gave the theory for about 60 years when he was alive, and the next the experimental measurements, even the planetary measurements are taken by astronomers. This was taken by Tycho Brahe way back from 1546 to 1601, and then this data analysis has been done by Johannes Kepler. When you see about Johannes Kepler, what are the things that comes to your mind? 3 important laws. What are those laws? First law, the law of orbit. All the planets revolve around the sun with sun as one of its foci in elliptical orbits. The radius vector swept by the planet sweeps out equal areas in equal intervals of time. That means when it is in the perigee position, it is going to move faster to cover larger area than in the apogee position when it is going to move slower to cover larger areas. The third law, the square of the period of the planet is proportional to the cube of the mean distance from the sun. So these all the 3 laws were given by Kepler between the year 1571 to 1630. So precisely we are able to detect when the eclipse occurs, when the planet moves closer to sun, when there is a solar flare, thanks to the work done by all the Nicolaus Copernicus to Isaac Newton. The last was done by Isaac Newton, who developed the theory of gravitation. So when it comes to gravitation, you know the law of universal gravitation. That is, every body attracts every other body with a force which is directly proportional to product of masses and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Let us see what that law has to say. Yes. So this is called as the universal law of gravitation. That means when in space there is a mutual attraction between bodies which are heavier and closer than bodies which are farther and smaller. So the larger the distance between them, smaller is the attraction, and heavier they are, bigger the attraction. So this is given by the formula F is equal to G m m by r square. What is m, what is g, and what is? So G is universal gravitation. G is called as universal gravitational constant. Universal gravitational constant. So this is been measured in the lab by the physicists as early as several centuries ago, and so its value is around 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11. Newton. So what is the ratio of this G? So this is Newton meter square per kilogram square. How did I arrive at this? I had the value F is equal to Gmm by R square. G is the gravitation constant, R is the radius of the earth, M is the mass of the earth, and M is the other mass which is in connection. So this is given by G. So G is equal to F into R square divided by M into M. So that gives us Newton meter square per kg. This has been experimentally measured. So far so good about those physicists who have studied in detail in astronomy, about the planets, about the comets, about the asteroids, about all the other extra terrestrial organisms. By the way, what is the study of microorganisms in outer space called, do you know? It is called as exobiology. So if somebody is studying CT, SETI, what do they study? Study of extraterrestrial intelligence. So you have to know this as the students who learn physics in gravitation 11th standard. So next one, I am going to tell you about how to understand this concept. Please let us check up the understanding of what we know in gravitation. The value of universal gravitation constant. So on what does it depend upon? So G has been already determined in the laboratory. So that's why we are sending satellites. That's why we are sending other mission to Mars and Moon. So how is that? Because it varies with respect to nature of material of two bodies. Whether they are spongy, they are heavy, they are slotted, they are having holes, whether they are smooth, all these matters. And next one is the medium between the two bodies. Between the earth and the moon, we have atmosphere and vacuum. Between the moon and the sun, there is total vacuum. So it definitely depends upon the nature of the medium in between the two bodies. Then the acceleration of two bodies. So I am going to write about the bodies, nature of the body. Nature can be, it can be solid, it can be liquid, it can be gaseous, it can be colloidal, or it can be plasmic. So this is the nature, solid, liquid, gas, colloidal and plasmid is the nature of the medium. Then we have the medium between the two bodies. So whether it is air or vacuum, air or vacuum. Then the third one is the acceleration between two bodies. As you know, the Kepler's law states that sun is here, earth is moving in a elliptical orbits like this. So the distance traversed between the bodies is, the area is the same. So what is the acceleration of the earth here? Acceleration of earth here. What is the acceleration of the earth here? Are they both same? No, they are certainly not same. This is apogee and this is perigee. The acceleration of the planet when it comes closer to sun is higher than the object when it is going farther away from the sun. And fourth one is none of these. So what does it depend upon? Out of all these four, you can say that it depends upon the acceleration of two bodies. So this is the answer. Next problem. Now I am going to discuss a problem related to gravitation. What is that? Two particles having masses m1 and m2 are at a distance apart from rest. A third particle present on the line joining the stationary particle experiences no gravitational force or zero gravitational force. Find the distance of the particle from the mass m1. So how will you approach this problem if this problem comes in neat? Very simple. Let us look at it. I am going to tell that there is a body which is having a mass m1. And let us take another body at a certain distance apart, which is, let us say, x. Let this body have a mass m2. So how do I understand the question? I want to find out what is the third particle which is present on the line joining these two, in which it experiences zero gravitational pull. Let us call it as a particle m, small m. So what we have to do is, we have to take this as to be r. So we take that first body is g into m1 into m divided by r square. So that should be equal to, what is the next one? It is equal to G into m2 into m divided by x minus r the whole square. So when you are able to say that the force of attraction between the particle here, the force of attraction between the particle here and here are varied. I am equating them. So this G cancels, m cancels, or you are left with m1 by m2. So it is equal to r square divided by x minus r the whole square. Now you take it as the inverse form. So I am taking the inverse form where I have r square divided by r minus x the whole square is equal to m2 by m1. Or rather, this is r minus x the whole square divided by r square is equal to m2 by m1. So I take the square root, I take r minus x divided by r is equal to square root of m2 by m1, or I take 1 minus x by r is equal to square root of m2 by m1. So I take 1 minus x by r is equal to square root of m2 by m1. Therefore I take 1 minus m2 by m1 is equal to square root is equal to x by r, and r is equal to, what is my r value? R value is equal to x divided by square root of 1 minus m2 by m1. So this is how we had to solve this problem. So far in this class we had seen about the gravitation between various celestial bodies. We derived the universal law of gravitation. We found out the place where there is no gravitational attraction as the balance of two forces. If you have any queries, please write to us through email or any other material, and we will be able to answer your queries with our solution. Thank you.